Riley Strain, the University of Missouri College student, walked out of a downtown bar on Friday night and has not been seen since.
Strain's family is in Nashville, desperately working to help police find him. Fox 17 News has confirmed the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission is now investigating if any bars overserved him.
And Fox 17 News' Kelly Avellino has uncovered more security video of Strain after he left Luke Bryan's Honky Tonk.
We're working to discern Riley Strain's exact path that night. We know he left Luke Bryan's bar at about 9:40. I then found new surveillance video today that confirms he crossed the street here and made his way up 3rd Avenue. His disappearance gripping the nation. Riley's father telling me his son got separated from his friends while getting kicked out of Luke Bryan's bar.
He was put out of the bar by himself, and there was a time that went by that his friend wasn't able to get out. We believe they were taking care of their bar tab or whatnot. By the time they got outside, he just wasn't there any longer.
Luke Bryan posting, "Y'all, this is scary. Praying for his safe return." Luke's 32 Bridge Bar hasn't responded to our request to share their surveillance video of Riley with the public. They did give it to police, but Riley's family tells me they haven't seen it from detectives either.
They're not really telling us a lot. If they have more, they're keeping it tight-lipped right now.
The Old Red Bar across from Luke Bryan's also confirming they have video of Riley crossing the street and are only sharing it with investigators. This security video from the escape game room on 3rd Ave shows what appears to be Riley walking by. You can then see him running onto Church Street and then slamming into a pole in this parking lot. Another video then shows Riley stumbling up 1st Avenue towards Gay Street near the river, holding his head. His phone last pinged near Public Square Park at 9:58, according to his family. They tell me detectives do have more videos showing Riley near the James Robertson Parkway Bridge, but then that's it. There's no trace of Riley after that.
There's not been any activity on his banking accounts.
Riley's parents tell me they believe he could have been drugged. Questions are also surfacing about what responsibility the bars may have in all this. The TABC tells Fox 17 News there are no specific laws governing businesses escorting out intoxicated patrons or giving them assistance in getting home. But it is against state law to serve alcohol to someone who is already visibly intoxicated. The TABC is investigating whether that happened to Riley. And Riley's family tells me the United Cajun Navy is on standby, ready again to help search the river as soon as investigators give them a better idea of where exactly to search along the waterline at this point. I'm Kelly Avellino for Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
If you have a side gig and need to file your taxes, visit freetaxusa.com. With us, your federal return is always free, and your state return is only $14.99. We've got you covered. And there's absolutely no fee if you need to include a 1099 tax form. We help you find all the business write-offs you deserve, and IRS e-filing is included. Don't pay more than $100 to file your small business taxes. Switch to freetaxusa.com and save.
The Federal Reserve Bank of New York just issued a digital dollar, effectively replacing paper money with nothing more than a government-controlled computer program. Now the New York Fed is the sole agent of the entire Federal Reserve System. And because it also teamed up with Citibank, MasterCard, Wells Fargo, and 5 other banking giants, this shocking development now means 190 million Americans will be forced to use the Fed's digital dollar as soon as December of 23. It's crazy. But while the establishment media is hush-hush about it, many experts are sounding the alarm, including leading voices like Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson. Even the president of the Federal Reserve of Minneapolis recently warned that this central bank digital currency is a way to directly tax you and track all your transactions. Sadly, many Americans are okay with sleepwalking into a socialist state, but thousands of patriots are fighting back against this government takeover, and they're turning to a little-known IRA loophole. A 100% legal loophole that shields your money from the looming financial surveillance, while also safeguarding your IRA and 401k saving against the weakening U.S. dollar. If you're not ready to surrender your privacy to the cake eaters in Washington, and if you don't want a Bitcoin-like crash to vaporize your digital savings, simply click the button you see on your screen right now and request your 100% free reserved copy of the exclusive U.S. Dollar Collapse Guide. You owe it to yourself and your family to break free from
Yes, ma'am. I was working at the store I used to work at. While I'm watching the camera around my building, I seen him outside walking in Church Street down to Gay Street. He could barely move. He fell on the floor. He was so drunk. But I was busy at this time. I had some customer inside the store, but there is usually, we used to see this situation or kind of situation outside, specific in downtown area, and I can do nothing I could do nothing for him because he didn't ask. Most of people here are armed, like you know that, so I don't like to put myself in trouble. That's why I didn't ask him. That's all I've seen at this day.
I can imagine, you see a lot of people who've had a lot to drink in that bar, rich area, and you don't know if they might be violent. But I do have this question for you about Riley's mom. I understand she came to speak with you. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, ma'am. She was here on Sunday, as I remember. She couldn't even speak to me. She couldn't even talk. She was crying. I don't know what should I say, but I didn't understand what she was saying because of crying. She broke my heart, to be honest.
But you know for sure you saw Riley because, again, he is 6'7" and 160 pounds. It's not someone you'd miss.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
And you've had a chance to tell the police what you saw as well?
No, I didn't. I didn't expect something bad is gonna happen for him.
So have the police not come by to talk to you about what you witnessed?
No, ma'am.
Well, that's unbelievable. Okay, well, perhaps after this interview, they will come by and ask you some questions about the direction. Did you see him traveling in the directions that seem to be consistent with the video camera? Anything else that might have been unusual?
No, ma'am, that's all.
Well, Michael Halim, I'm very appreciative that you took the time to speak with us, and I'm sorry that you're struggling with this as well. It couldn't have been easy speaking with his mom. I do want to let our audience know that if anyone has information about Riley's disappearance, please contact the Metro Nashville Police Department at 615-862-8600. I always say take a screen grab. Spreading the word about missing college student Riley Strain. This one is located off I-24 near Trinity Lane, alerting drivers about the case. Now, Riley's family remains in Nashville this morning, hopeful to find any clues about where he went after he disappeared from downtown Nashville last Friday night. Blake Easton spent the morning retracing Riley Strain's known steps. He's joining us live now with an update on the case and the search. Blake.
Hey, good morning to you, Nikhil. It is certainly an all-hands-on-deck effort right now. We're talking billboards on the highway, boats in the water behind us, and you can actually hear Metro Police's helicopter actually flying above us right now, scanning alongside the river, trying to find any possible clues to learn what happened to that college senior. And as you mentioned, this morning we had a chance to go location by location and retrace the steps that Riley could have possibly walked before he went missing in downtown Nashville. The mysterious disappearance of 22-year-old Riley Strain began on Friday when he was reportedly kicked out of this bar right here. This is Luke Bryan's Broadway bar. It sits at the corner of Broadway and 3rd. Now, the next possible sighting that we saw of Strain was just a few blocks from here on Church Street, which would suggest the most likely route he could have possibly taken was simply walking this way of 3rd Avenue. The next time we would see Riley would be from this surveillance video here at the Smoke and Vape Shop on Church Street. Now, this sits in between 2nd Avenue and 3rd Avenue. If you remember from that video, we would see Riley walk right down this sidewalk, trip over something, get back up before continuing down Church Street, making his way closer to the river. The next time we'd see Riley was crossing the crosswalk here at 1st Avenue from Church Street, walking on to North Gay Street. Now, if you see here, there's certainly a curve that he would have had to pass by, which goes along with what his parents told us was the last time his phone ping was a few hundred yards north of here on Gay Street at the James Robertson Parkway Bridge. And so, Nikhil, to refresh your memory, this is surveillance video that we saw there on 1st Avenue where he was crossing to Church Street, making his way towards North Gay Street. This was sent out from Metro Police. It was on Friday night around 10 o'clock or so, and that's the last that we have seen of Riley on surveillance video as of now. And so, as you can imagine, it continues to be an all-hands-on-deck effort. I mentioned the boats that we saw here in the Cumberland River. Metro Police's helicopter still flying above us, but also this is continuing to stretch miles, wanting to get any information that they possibly can. Coming up here on News 2, we'll introduce you to the company that's responsible for blasting this information across billboards all across the city, free of charge, just to hopefully get some sort of clue as to where Riley could be. Reporting live in Nashville, Blake Eason, News 2.
The river bank and the river itself using a sonar-equipped boat. Thus far, we've found no sign of our missing person. Sergeant Bob Nielsen is a supervisor for our Homicide Cold Case Unit. That unit is responsible for investigating missing persons. And Sergeant Nielsen's going to go over with you now where the investigation stands at this point. Sergeant Nielsen.
As Don has already mentioned, we've been out here with our urban search and rescue people today. We've also utilized my cold case detectives on foot, traveling through the area. We've also used aviation, as well as our police boat, which, as he mentioned, has sonar. In the past couple of days, we've also involved the Office of Emergency Management. They have a boat with sonar, and they also have a drone. We've had their drone operator come out here. And we've also been utilizing our downtown partnership people and just trying to make any contacts of some of the citizens walking through here, including people that live in nearby homeless camps, and have been recanvassing for video and reaching out to some of the bars and businesses down here, which I'd like to point out that they've all been extremely cooperative with us. And I'm open to any questions you have. So the last thing we had on the phone information was all of the pings that they did were based on exigency, so we were able to get that. Apple has been very helpful with us. We're still waiting on some phone record information. We're still waiting on that data. However, the last ping that they had was off a cell tower near Top Golf, which is on the other side of the river. However, the radius is about 2 miles, so it doesn't give us a direction to travel or more detailed information. We just know that that's the tower that it hit off of. We're still waiting on the phone records. We don't have the information quite back on the Apple Watch. I didn't know this. I'm not an Apple person, but apparently it has its own separate phone number. So that's one of the things that we're also waiting on is data from that as well. It doesn't tell us exactly why they went down. There could be a variable number of reasons of why both of those went down, from we don't know how long he had them charged to, turn them off. I mean, any number of things. But the data right now, the rest of it, his phone records and so forth, we're still waiting on. We know that the last ping off that tower was between 9:55 p.m. and 10 p.m. And I believe the last phone conversation or attempted conversation by one of his friends was also during that same time. That was the last time anybody had any kind of interaction with him on the phone. Thank you. With the camera footage that we have right now, the last known footage we have of Mr. Strain was coming in this direction, which would be towards us in a northerly direction. It caught him between the James Robertson Bridge and Woodland Street Bridge traveling this way. He was on foot. There was nobody else around him that we could see. We do have some cameras on the back of our Birch building, which is our courthouse here. However, it doesn't catch him crossing the path of that, and they would have caught anybody on either side of the Gay Street connector. So at this point, we're kind of back canvassing, if you will, going back, possible route he may have taken from Broadway up 3rd, down towards Church Street, down in this direction, to look for any other cameras we may have missed, as well as look for any other potential employees at some of these businesses that we can talk to that may not have been here past few days, but might have been here Friday night. So we're still going back and looking for more cameras and more witnesses. No, there's absolutely no indication whatsoever there's any kind of foul play or other crime involved. This is strictly a missing person investigation at this point. Obviously, those things can always change. We just don't know. But right now, all of our resources are dedicated towards finding him. We're not conducting a criminal investigation of any type. So we're utilizing all of our detectives and our other resources, as we mentioned, in just looking for him. Because, like I said, there's no indication he was in a fight or argument with anybody on the street, as far as we know right now, or anybody in any establishment he may have visited. So we're just solely looking at this as a missing person case. So we don't believe, based on the information we have so far from financial institution, that he utilized any kind of ride share. However, I know that I believe the family or someone has reached out asking if they may have caught him on video, because as we all know, a lot of your rideshare partners will have dash cams, and so people have reached out to them, hey, if you see anything, can you send it to us, send it to the police department? But we have not seen any evidence that he would have used that. All the footage that we have so far, he was walking, so there's no indication that he got into a vehicle, whether a cab or a rideshare. And then, of course, until we get his phone records back, we can't see if he utilized any one of those types of applications as well. I don't. There was no real interaction between the two because that officer was dealing with that other situation. Any other questions? Oh, yeah. So I was just telling them that basically we've been utilizing our urban search and rescue people as well as our police boat. They've gone up and down the bank. They've made multiple sweeps. Urban search and rescue has checked several areas, including any dilapidated buildings, as well as there's a storm drain that people will use sometimes. So they've been doing that, as well as we've had our cold case detectives actually walking the Greenway all the way up towards Jefferson Street, because there's a lot of residential new buildings up there that you can't get to by vehicle. You can get to the buildings, but you can't get behind them. So we're trying to utilize everybody on foot, on boat. We've utilized aviation. Office of Emergency Management has come out the past couple of days, a couple of times, both with the boat, with sonar, as well as with their drone. And then also, I don't know if many of you are familiar with the Cajun Navy, United Cajun Navy. There's a couple different organizations from Louisiana, but they also have members in other states, including Tennessee. They've also come up here to assist us with an airboat and some of their resources from private organizations to also assist in the search for Riley. It's just a natural progression. You know, with a missing persons case, people go missing for various reasons. Some are voluntary, some are not. Some could be due to a medical incident. Right now, we have no idea what happened with this gentleman. We don't believe that there's any crime involved, however. So all of our resources right now are dedicated towards locating him. And then once we find him, to try to see if there's any kind of, medical attention, something that he may need. And obviously we're looking for a positive outcome. And so, but we're open to all the information that we get. We're still utilizing our Crime Stoppers. A lot of people think that that's just for crimes, homicides, robberies, so forth. But we've also utilized that for people calling in. And I've been getting Crime Stoppers tips every single day regarding possible sightings or any information that people think that they have. I mean, you name it, people call us, we're checking it out. We've also provided our information. Contact us, either me directly by email, my lead detective, or our public information office, our social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that. So we're utilizing absolutely every resource we could possibly think of at this point. There's no reason to believe that he's been a victim of a crime, and I can't possibly think of any other resource we could utilize that we haven't used or are using right now. Yeah, he's been entered into NCIC, which is very common. So when we do a missing person report, when that's entered into NCIC, and as we follow that information, we've pushed it out to some of our partner, like Sumner County, Cheatham County, THP, and so forth. They usually get that information. Our fusion centers tend to push a lot of that information out as well. So that information has pretty much been disseminated. Yes, ma'am.
Emma watched as her fiancé, Nathan, cheated on her with Amber one day before their wedding.
That's true. So, actually, back in this direction, this first bridge is James Robertson Parkway. The next bridge is Woodland Street. He was last seen between those two bridges traveling in this direction. And that's the last footage that we have. I think that was around 9:52, 9:53, somewhere in that range. There's actually a large homeless encampment that's down the riverbank. And we actually made contact with some of those people today. Our urban search and rescue people talked to them. They even let us search that area, because that's treated like a domicile where some of them are. So they've been very helpful as well. And so we're just utilizing everybody we can talk to in this area, but that's the last known area. So what they told you is accurate. They just didn't know that the homeless encampment was down there. So.
Yeah, so at that point, once he got the camera, we don't know if he went down or got in a car. We don't know anything if he was off camera, right?
Correct, and as I mentioned to them, there are cameras on the back of the Birch building, but they would have caught anybody on either side of the street, but there's nothing to indicate he came this way. So we also utilize the camera. There's a pole camera right there as well, and it doesn't show him in this direction. So in the event that he could have possibly have doubled back and the other camera that we last saw him on didn't catch him, both, all detectives that we have out on this, as well as the security people that watch the parking garage, and the families themselves. I mean, we've had 3 different groups literally go through that parking garage for the past 2 days, just in case they've missed an open door, the safety netting in case somebody somehow went over the side. They've checked everything that they can over there, and security was checking again for us today, just because there's always that possibility the camera didn't catch him going back across, and maybe he went back up to James Robertson through that parking garage, as well as the stairs on the outside of the parking garage. Not that we've seen on video. I know some people that have called in have thought there was, but we haven't seen any evidence of that. I was told today that there was a homeless gentleman that may have actually seen him, like close proximity, like from me to you. So we're actually trying to find that individual right now to see if he can provide us more information, but we haven't been able to find him so far. Yes, ma'am. It's just like when we have a homicide, we try to have one point of contact, whether it's one parent, 2 parents, an aunt, whoever is kind of the spokesperson for the family, just because the nature of the investigation can be so cumbersome that it's hard for us to answer multiple questions. Like if there's 15 of you out here right now, realistically, we may not have the time to talk to actual 15 individual people, right? That's why we have public information officers, or like here, we're doing a quick briefing on it. So usually what we'll do, and as I've spoken to Mom and Dad today, was everything will go through them. So they have multiple ways to contact me. Any questions they have, even from other family, I've asked them to direct it to Mom and Dad, let Mom and Dad contact us, because otherwise it gets to be the telephone game, and then misinformation gets out there, and in this case, it's a missing person, but if it was a homicide, then we risk the chance of affecting the integrity of that case. And obviously, we don't want to put everything out in a homicide. In this case, we're putting everything out because it's a missing person. But it still helps to have just one point of contact, just because everybody wants to know, but they also have to understand that for us to do our job effectively, we're utilizing literally everybody that we have that we can at the moment. And so if I have like 5 detectives here today, and they're all handling phone calls, well, then I don't have any detectives out here looking for this gentleman. So that's why it's easier just to have 1 or 2 points of contact. And 9 times out of 10, the families are extremely understanding, extremely cooperative, and they totally understand where we're coming from, and we've always had a good exchange with that. Right now, as far as I know, it's just ours, and then some of the local groups, like I said, the Cajun Navy. I just was contacted yesterday by somebody, I think he works a task force with the state of Tennessee, so we're going to be reaching out to him as well. But right now, there's not really been a need for other resources based on everything we have between USAR, all the equipment, aviation, as well as the Office of Emergency Management, so I guess you can count them as an outside source, but I don't really, because they work hand in hand with us on so many other incidents. But if it goes to a point where we think we need additional help, whether it's state or federal, we have no problem immediately contacting them and requesting that assistance. Pretty much recanvassing for video, looking for any other people that we can talk to, pretty much. Reaching out to other officers. A lot of our officers in patrol have really good rapport with the people in the communities, neighborhoods that they work. And so a lot of them get to know a lot of the homeless population. So if we say, hey, we're looking for John Doe because he may have information, there's some amazing patrol officers that we have that know everybody in their area, and they can help us find that. So that's one of the things we'll be utilizing. And a lot of it now at this point is just filtering all the information. As I said, we've been getting just dozens of Crime Stoppers tips every day, pretty much since this has started. And so it takes time to go through all of those, scrutinize that information, make certain that there could be a viable lead. A lot of them, as you can imagine, is just frivolous information, and I'll leave it at that. So you have to kind of filter that to know what you need to spend time on. Because just like with the Christmas Day bombing, we got all kinds of crazy things that came into us, so you have to know what to prioritize. But that's a good thing, too, about having as many detectives as we have, because with cold case, we're all in the same office as homicide, and homicide alone has 28 detectives, plus I have 7, so that's a lot of people that, if we need that help, they're there. We've got all those other people that'll help us. And that's just for going through the Crime Stoppers tips.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any updates from the investigation you're able to share with us?
Still pretty few. I mean, not quite moving as fast as what we'd hoped. We still don't have the watch data. We do know from our meeting yesterday that they have seen the footage inside and outside of Luke Bryant's bar now, which made us feel a little better. Ryan can tell you exactly the footage we're needing now. We're still trying to get camera footage off of buildings that are where we have the last known video of.
Yeah.
So we need that kind of help immediately.
Let's talk about some of that footage. We got our hands on that footage, just hours after we talked to you a couple days ago, showing Riley walking downtown. There's one part in the video where he stumbles. I'm sure you've watched all of this by now. Yeah, there he is right here highlighted. What do you make of this video? And did you or police pick up on anything else that was odd from any of this surveillance?
Yeah, the first 2 videos in the timeline are extremely odd to us. We're really wondering why somebody didn't help, why somebody didn't call the police, make a 911 call saying, hey, there's a student or an individual that is in need, we need everybody's help.
Yeah.
If you've seen, please help us.
Yes.
Who's calling?
Speaking, to just go off that point you just made, my own mother is now following this story intently. I mean, she wants to know what has happened to your son. My mom was also wondering, do you want that bar to be liable? We know that Riley was asked to leave because he had been overserved. I mean, do you want that bar to be held responsible at all for not making sure that Riley, I don't know, got in an Uber or was in the right hands once he left their premises?
I feel like there needs to be some accountability put somewhere. This stuff shouldn't be going on, putting people out if they're in that kind of condition. There needs to be some accountability. But right now we're staying focused on the direction we need to go with the investigation. We feel like time is very critical at this point, and there's camera footage that needs to be reviewed. It seems to be going slower than what we want it to go. We're in several days, and we're not getting answers about where his last known location was.
Michelle, at one point you see Riley in one of these videos, you see Riley stopping, almost unsure of where to go. Reports say Riley told his friends he was walking back to the hotel. Based on what you've seen from that footage, was he even going in the right direction back to where they were staying?
He is not. It looks like he's turned around and confused as to where he is. I mean, he's in a strange town. It's hard for a mom to see, and it's hard for me to see all these people around him and not helping him.
Any idea if he hopped in an Uber? Have you checked his Uber history? Is he the type of young man to get in a car with somebody he didn't know?
There's not anything to indicate that he grabbed an Uber. It wouldn't be like him to jump in a car with anybody else. But it's not like him to go in the direction of the area that he was last seen either. So there's still a lot of questions that we're very trying to be patient, waiting on answers on.
Absolutely. I also know we mentioned that candlelight vigil was held for Riley last night. How has the outpouring of support helped you through this process as a family?
I feel like it's what's getting us through. We have a lot of people, we feel everybody's prayers. Please continue. Please continue to share his story.
It really has been amazing, the outpouring that we've received, not only from our hometown community, but from people all over the United States. It's mind-blowing what we're seeing, what we're hearing from people, what they're offering to do to help us.